Hello everybody and welcome back to one more video of tennis improvement. In this video, I will be exposing Novak Djokovic's weakness. So, what is his weakness? Well, his weakness is his backhand. So many people say that his backhand is arguably one of the greatest of all time. I believe that. I agree it's a really good asset to his game. But today I'll be analyzing his US Open run until the fourth round where he sadly retired against Stan Wawrinka and what he did that made his backhand be a liability in that tournament. Before we start the video, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. And also, I will be making videos every Sunday and every Wednesday from now on, just so you guys can know. So make sure to turn on the post notifications when you subscribe to get notified when I get a new video on. So on Wednesday, it's usually going to be a pro tennis player example, and on Sunday, it will be a lesson by me. So, let's begin. Alright everybody, so the first round is where Novak Djokovic faced Baena. So you guys see the match on your screen right now in the stats, the rally stats. So as you guys see, there are many sections. So there's approach shots, drop shots, ground strokes, lobs, overhead strokes, passing shots, and volleys. So we're going to be focusing on ground strokes, obviously, because of the backhand. So there are three sections on the overhead side. So they're winners, forced errors, and unforced errors. So before we start the statistics, I'll tell you what they each are. So a winner is when someone hits a ball and it bounces 2 times without somebody getting to it. So that's a winner. So your opponent hits a winner. That means they hit a ball that bounces 2 times and you can't get to it. A forced error is an error that you make that you're forced to make. So if someone hits you out wide on your backhand and you miss that shot because you can't get to it, that's called a forced error because you were forced to do the error. An unforced error is more of an error that shouldn't be really done in tennis. It's an error that you're not forced to do. So if you get an easy shot bounced right to your forehand and you miss it, that's called an unforced error because you didn't have to do much work to do that, to make the shot, but you missed it. Alright, so for the first round, so for winners, the forehand had 10 winners over the course of the whole match, and his backhand had 0. So that isn't good because if you don't have winners, that doesn't mean you're doing well. It's good if you hit a lot of good shots in the corners and your opponent just makes a lot of forced errors. So for Baena, for forced errors, he had 9 on his forehand and 7 on his backhand. So Djokovic did make him get quite 16 forced errors in the whole match, which isn't bad. So for forced errors, his forehand had 0 and his backhand had 1. So that conclusion is that his movement was well in that match. He got a lot of good balls. He didn't have to make many errors except for 1 on his backhand. That doesn't mean his backhand was a liability, but if we get to the unforced errors, and we'll see what happens then. So for the unforced errors, his forehand had 11 and his backhand had 12. So it doesn't mean his backhand was a liability. It was sort of a liability, but his forehand also was a liability because both of them didn't do so well on the unforced error side. His forehand was more of an asset than his backhand because his forehand had no forced errors, 10 winners, and just some unforced errors. His backhand had everything except for winners. Alright, so let's move on to the next round. Alright everybody, so now we're in the second round, so let's go to it, and we're here. So in the second round, Novak Djokovic faced Londera, who's Argentinian. So that match took a pretty long time, over 2 hours, and it was 6-4, 7-6, 6-1. So the first 2 sets were a challenge for Djokovic, and the last set was an easy cruise. So, like before, we are going to go to the section of ground strokes, and for the winners, forced errors, unforced errors. So for winners, his forehand had 8, which was less, and his backhand had 5. So his backhand so far was more of an asset in that match because it was more accurate and he was able to hit more winners. Forced errors, his forehand and backhand both had 3. So that's a good thing because he got to a lot of balls. Even if you do, like, I don't know, 10, that's not bad. But for unforced errors, his backhand had 5, but his forehand had 17. So based on the statistics from this match, his backhand was much more of an asset than his forehand, because his forehand had much more errors. Except for winners. Winners, it was close. But Darrow didn't have a better game than Djokovic according to unforced errors. His forehand had 23 and his backhand had 14. That's a total of 37 unforced errors. So we have to get to the next. In a few videos, I'm going to be explaining the science behind unforced errors. Why do they keep occurring and what's the solution? Alright everybody, so let's move on to the third round. Alright guys, so the third round was where Novak Djokovic faced Denis Kudla. So that match, Djokovic won 6-3, 6-4, 6-2. So it was a cruise match for Djokovic, except for the second set, which may have been a bit challenging for him. So for his winners, his forehand had 14 and his backhand had 3. So based on the winners, his forehand was more of an asset than a liability in this match, and then comparing to the backhand, which was more of a liability than an asset. For forced errors, his forehand had 3 and his backhand had 4. So that means that his forehand was better in terms of errors because it had less errors. His backhand had more forced errors, but only by 1, so it wasn't much of a difference. But for unforced errors, his forehand had 4 and his backhand had 18. So 18 isn't good. 22 total, it's pretty normal, but 18 backhand errors is not good at all. So that must have meant that there were 18 shots that he didn't have to do much work and he missed the ball out or in the net. So with that information, let's go to his final round of the 2019 US Open, the 4th round against Stan Wawrinka. Alright guys, so Djokovic's final round was the 4th round where he faced Stan Wawrinka. So in that match, sadly, Djokovic was forced to retire according to an injury, and he lost 6-4, 7-5, 2-1. He retired when it was 2-1. So if you guys don't know what retirement is in tennis, there are 2 types of retirement. So one retirement is where you just retire because you've played for so long, you're getting old, and you just want to retire. But the second retire is when you aren't actually getting out of tennis, you're basically quitting, I guess. It's when you get injured and you can't play the match. So that's when it says someone retires the match. So for Djokovic, he lost 6-4, 7-5, 2-1, and in 2-1 in the 3rd set, he retired. So for his winners, his forehand had 1 and his backhand had 1. So that isn't much for both strokes. It's not that good. So for forced errors, his forehand had 3, but his backhand had 8. So that's more than usual for his backhand, and his forehand is pretty much his average. His backhand, you guys just have to know forced errors isn't a good thing. So if you come and say, oh, I got 8 forced errors, that isn't good because, well, actually, to be honest, it's not good to get an error, but if you get 8 forced errors, it's not too bad because a forced error is when you can't get a ball and you hit it out or in the net when your opponent hits you a good ball. So actually, it's not too bad. 8 isn't bad. On forced errors, though, his forehand had 12 and his backhand had 16. So that's only 2 less than the last match. So both ground strokes were a liability in terms of unforced errors, but overall in that match, his forehand was more of an asset than the backhand was a liability. So with that, let's get to the conclusions. Alright guys, so on your screen you guys see the 2 conclusions from this video and Novak Djokovic's US Open. So the first conclusion is that his forehand was better than his backhand in the tournament and in general in terms of stats. So in stats, I would like to thank the US Open app and the IBM Slam Tracker for making me able to get these very advanced stats and to share them with you guys. And also, his backhand is a relative strength, so it can happen related to other strokes if they become really good. Like for me, when I see Djokovic playing, when he plays against people who, a qualifier, a wild card, people who aren't very high in the rankings, his stats are worse. When he plays against Roger Federer or Rafa, his stats are better. So So that means that it's not saying that he's relaxing when he's playing against people who aren't so good, but it means that he's trying to work more in those matches. So a tip for you guys is that you have to keep working, keep fighting every point. Like I said in my 5 tactics to win matches video, go check it out in the description below. I said that you can give up when it's over. You have to fight until it's over. So Djokovic, it's not saying that Djokovic isn't fighting. He's not putting as much effort as he is. So let's get to the end of the video. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure to leave a comment stating what you guys think of his backhand and what you guys think of this video. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and like I said, leave a comment. I will be leaving some of my other videos in the description, my analysis videos mostly, and some videos from Novak Djokovic. So, I hope to see you guys next Wednesday. See ya!